Hello everyone and welcome to the Thousand Year Blood War Core 1 Q&A. I've just finished reading the chapters and watching the episodes for Core 1 of the anime. So, to celebrate this, since that's like season 1 in a way, I decided I was going to have a Q&A of people asking questions about Core 1 specific things and my thoughts on Core 1 now that I've finished. Just kind of a celebratory look back on this first part of the Thousand Year Blood War. So I asked my lovely patrons over on Patreon to ask questions that they have, and I would do my best to answer them now that I'm finished with it. So you guys sent some questions. Let's talk about it, and I'm very excited to see what you guys are asking because this has been a crazy set of episodes and chapters. I've talked before about it just really kind of blew my mind. I feel like over and over it just keeps ramping up. Straight from the beginning, it was interesting when you realize the Quincy's are the bad guys, and then the Waco Mundo invasion, the invasion of the Soul Society, people dying, people getting close to dying but not dying. Then everything with Kenpachi and Unohana and the Squad Zero, and then everything with everything but the rain, and Misaki being a Quincy, and the Blade is me, and Ichigo forging a new sword, and Yuabaha and Zangetsu, and it's been a lot. It's been a lot. It's been crazy. It's been much crazier than I even thought it was going to be. Um, so here we are. Here we are. We're talking Bleach, and we're talking Core 1 of the Thousand Year Blood War. I'm excited to see your questions because this has been a crazy ride. So this is a nice little checkpoint. I hope you enjoy this Q&A as I do my best to answer any questions you have. Questions were vetted by a friend of mine to make sure none of them are going to spoil me for any future events. So if you don't see your question here, it's either you might have told me too much, you might have said too much, or, you might have accidentally said something that my friend deemed a little questionable. So let's do this. Q&A, let's go. What are your predictions for where the story is going to go, and what are you most excited for specifically? Also, I kind of want you to try and guess the Quincy powers and letters. I think I might do a video, hopefully before I find out too much, guessing Quincy letters. I think once I get more letters, if there are many more, I'll probably do a video about that. So, what are your predictions? I don't know. It's hard to say. I do think, obviously, the Soul King's being ramped up to be more of a part of it. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't like to try to think too far ahead of like where the story's going to go because I kind of just want to be along for the ride. But I do think it's going to be the Soul King's going to be very important. What am I most excited for specifically? More the battles probably, but also I've talked about it before, but this potential team up of like Ichigo with Grimmjow, the three Fullbringers we saw training with Ganju, and like potentially Aizen if we bust him out, and like Ichigo working with his former enemies is something that excites me. Like seeing some of those enemies as allies is an exciting possibility. It just started downpouring. Is that a sign? Kubo? Yeah. Next question. Could you rank the surprise reveals that you've encountered, like Zangetsu, Nohana being a Kenpachi, Ichigo's mother? I might save that for a video, honestly, like twists, but I'll say the one that's at the top for me probably is Ichigo's mom. That kind of blew my mind. But Unohana being a Kenpachi was also wild. But Ichigo's mom, that was crazy. What was your favorite fight in Core 1? Personally, mine's Kenpachi against Unohana, fair enough. But there are other amazing ones like Yamamoto's, Asnot's, or the White Fight and Everything But the Rain. So I'm very curious. Love everything on your channel and Patreon. You're the best. Thank you. I appreciate that. My favorite fight in Core 1? Probably Yamamoto's. Yamamoto's was like... It was one of those where just seeing him cut loose finally was so hype. Like, so hype. But I did love the feelings of the fight between the Kenpachis. And like the Asnot fight was good because it was very scary. I don't know, there's been so many good fights. I'm gonna say Yamamoto versus Yubaha. or as we Royd Lloyd, as he really was. Not a Q&A, but I want to ask if you will make a video ranking all the Sternritter based on your judgment based on who is strongest to weakest. Maybe after I see all of them, I could guess who I think's the strongest to the weakest. As far as guessing their powers, I might do a video about that as well. In terms of writing, who are the characters that gained the most from Cour 1? Now, are you saying as far as their personal arcs, or are you saying as far as like how were developed really well in Cour 1? Because I'm thinking Yamamoto, I feel, got a lot from that battle as far as a character. And Unohana went way up. I was going to say she went way up in my personal rankings after her thing with Kenpachi. So probably one of the two of them gained the most, but Ichigo, obviously. As far as arc-wise, obviously Ichigo. He learned so much about himself, and he had some great moments, so one of those three, I'd say. Did you enjoy the anime only and rearranged scenes? I did. I loved particularly the Uryu editions, considering where things went, which I guess that's where it was going. I think those were important, and just keeping him in the story and keeping him in mind, and with everything going on with the Quincy, it felt important that he should be around, even if it was just a little subplot. I thought that helped develop in the direction that we saw. Yeah, but I am curious, because the anime only scene with him, he learned something about his mom. I assume he learned that Yuabaha was responsible for taking her power and killing her, but so is he just trying to get close to Yuabaha to kill him? I don't know, but I do think those scenes added a lot. And I loved the original 13 flashback that started off, what was that, episode 7 or 8? I loved that a lot. That was cool. They did a good job of adding things and, moving things around. Do you think Gin and Tozen could have made a difference against Quincy if they remained as captains? Yeah, maybe. They might have helped out a bit, but I also could see their Bankai being stolen. Like, Tozen, I feel like, probably would have tried to use the Bankai. Gin? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Yamamoto state that the only way for them to steal your Bankai is if they know how it works and what it does? And if Gin is going telling people, here, my Bankai is just making my sword wicked long, and not telling them the full extent of what it actually does, would they be able to take his Bankai? I don't know. I think they could have helped out. I do think they would have lost, though. I don't think they would have been enough to turn the tide. But it's interesting to think about. In another world where Gin was allowed to be a good person, or at least someone that wasn't working with Aizen. Since you know the Sternritter are based on the alphabet, is there a particular Sternritter you're looking forward to seeing? Like, for example, what Sternritter's D's, powers, and abilities would be. You're the first YouTuber whose Patreon I've subbed to, and it's a decision I do not regret. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I try to make Patreon fun and worth your time and money. I try to make it enjoyable. Is there a particular Sternritter you're looking forward to seeing? X. Yeah, X. I'm a big X-Men guy. So X is a great letter, and as far as words in the alphabet that it could be meaning, how like Y was yourself and F was fear. I'm curious what X would stand for, because there aren't that many options. So yeah, I'm curious to see who the X one is and what it means. Now that Cour 1 is over, what are your thoughts on Yuabaha so far? Do you have any theories about his powers or his backstory? How do you think he'll develop as a villain in the upcoming chapters? You've only got a few breadcrumbs of info to work with. Yes, I do. But I'd love to hear your initial thoughts. Love your content. Thank you. Yuabaha I really like. He's extremely intimidating. He's got a great mustache. He's scary in a way that's not creepy. It's more just full-on intimidation. It's like his authority and his forcefulness is scary. Like, just that. He's not creepy in the same way that, like, Asnod is creepy. Or even that Aizen sometimes was creepy, where he just feels like he knows everything. Yuabaha just feels strong and, like, hard to overcome. As far as his backstory, I would think there would be some tragedy to him, perhaps. Um, he is someone that lost his whole kingdom and all his people, but it also seemed like he didn't care that much about them overall. But also maybe he did, because he did have a bit of a reaction when his old friends, dead friends, were being turned on him. But I know I like Yuabaha a lot. I think he's really interesting. And once I learned how to say his name, that was a big leap. Because it was, for a while, I was just calling him the Quincy Kid. Because I'm like, I don't know about Ewok. Yeah, I like him. He's a good bad guy. He's very intimidating. And his connection, now that we've learned through his being to other Quincy characters like Uryu or Ichigo or Misaki, it's very interesting. He's been a very influential character without us realizing it. We got a big one. During the invasion, there were a couple fights we didn't get to see, like Rose versus na 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 na, and Rukia versus the Quincy girl. Apart from how it ended, same with Hisagi versus Driscoll. Driscoll was the overkill guy, right? Yeah, he was fighting Hisagi. But the most egregious one for me was when they were establishing everyone's opponents and they showed Ukitake facing off against someone that we never got a good look of, only seeing the back of their head. The fact we never learned who that was and how that fight went always confused me. Like, why did Kubo bother showing us that Ukitake was about to fight someone, only to show nothing of it, let alone really letting us see who his opponent was? Especially because he didn't establish any opponents for Shinji, Kensei, Mayuri, so unless he really needed to fill that one panel with literally anything, that potentially hype moment in hindsight seems really pointless now. It was so inconsequential that you never talked about it in your manga read-along, anime reaction, or the analysis video, meaning that you put as much thought into Ukitake's fight as Kubo did, and I found that hilarious. Apologies for my slight rant, it's okay. So my question is, would you have liked to see any of these established fights more in full, or do you think the ones we got were more sufficient to show the seriousness of the invasion? I think what we got was sufficient. Would I like to have seen more of those fights? Sure. I gotta be honest, I don't remember seeing Ukitake about to fight someone, so you're right, it was very inconsequential and I've given it zero thought, because I don't even remember that moment. I don't remember seeing him. So, yeah, I guess it was super inconsequential. I don't know why Kubo would have teased that. Maybe, like you said, he just needed to fill a panel. Maybe it's, he didn't want to show any of Ukitake. Maybe he thought he would, but then he decided not to. I mean, I can't wait to see Ukitake cut loose, hopefully at some point, but yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even think of that. I didn't notice. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen more fights, but like I said, I think what we saw was enough to get the point across. I felt the hopelessness of war and the seriousness of the situation that I didn't think we were going to win. But thank you for the question, and it's okay. Don't worry about ranting a little bit. I get why you needed to. If Kubo contacted you to write a spin-off, which character would you choose as the protagonist? I always used to say Uryu had main character energy. In another story, a guy who's like the last surviving Quincy, holding on to, carrying that lineage, is like, could be a story in its own right, which is probably why he's like becoming a main character now. More of a main character. But if I could write a spin-off of anyone, that's a great question. There are a lot of great characters. I would love to just see how the Visored adapted to the living world, I think that would be interesting. Like, just have a series about them, a little spin-off series. I think that's going to be my answer. I'm going to say the Visored. There's a lot you could work with that, seeing them surviving in the world. You have seen quite a few new characters introduced to the story in this arc so far. Who's your favorite of the new additions to the cast and why? Also, in your opinion, which already familiar character has made a much stronger impression on you as a result of the new content? Unohana, to the second one, her and Yamamoto are so much... I look at them much differently than I used to. My favorite of the new additions... As Not, probably. I really like that. I really like that character. I like his vibe as a bad guy. I like the Squad Zero characters. But I'm gonna say As Not is my favorite new character that we've seen. I just like his vibe. I like the horror that he brings to Bleach, because I love when Bleach leans into the horror. Also, though, Misaki, if that counts. Maybe that's more to the second question. But Misaki, like that young Misaki, I thought was a really good character. First, congratulations on getting so far, and hope we go strong into the next chapters in Cour 2. I think we will. Now, since the Sternritter are the new big group of villains, would you be willing to do a top list of your favorite Sternritter, including design and personality, your guess at the top strongest, and lastly, a guess video of the remaining Sternritter and powers related to the letter? I do think I'll probably get around to doing most of those at some point. You know I love talking about groups. I had so many conversations and videos about the Espada, remember? So I'm sure we'll get around to talking more about the Sternritter once I see more of them. Can we get a prediction for the remaining Squad Zero's contribution to Soul Society? Can't remember if the names were revealed, so to keep the names out of it, the girl with the gold arms and the bald man with the red bead necklace. Okay, right. The monk-looking guy and the girl with the artificial arms. What would they have brought? What's a part of Soul Society that, like... I assume she did something technological. Just by the way her arms are. What are, like, things? Maybe, honestly, she's got, like, a spider thing going on. Like, that's, like, kind of her vibe. And when I don't know, I think... What are those, the hell butterflies that they use to communicate? That's kind of a part of, like, the Soul Reaper culture. So maybe she brought that as her contribution. Maybe she, like, because she's like a spider, and maybe she catches bugs in her web. That's my guess for her. She brought the hell butterflies. She discovered them, or she tamed them. Whatever. She developed them. That's my guess. As for him... It's another aspect to the Soul Society. Maybe he's like a keto. Maybe he developed keto. Yeah, that's my guess. He's like maybe he's the founder of the keto Cour. he's big, kind of like Hachi is. Yeah, I'm gonna say, what was her name? Senjumaru discovered the hell butterflies, and that guy Osho, was that I can't remember. I'm gonna say he developed keto. Yeah, okay, that's I'm gonna stick with that. I know it's highly unlikely to happen, but if by any chance you somehow finish Cour 3 before Cour 4 starts, do you plan to finish the manga and wait for the animation to come out, or take a small break and wait for the anime side by side? Anime side to be done to finish the story. That's tough to say. I haven't really thought about that. To gonna be honest. I could see benefits to both, I suppose, but yeah, let me know. If that does happen, should I stick with the manga and finish that, or should I wait and then continue to do what I've been doing? I feel like the second one would be more consistent with what I've already been doing, but I don't know. Let me know. We'll see if that even happens. I'm not sure when that's supposed to be. We'll see. Good question. Hey, not a question about story, characters, or anything like that. Which group would you say is the coolest fit? The Soul Reapers, the Espada, or the Sternritter? Also, of all the Stern Ritter you've seen, which one wears their outfit the best? Best fit, I'm gonna give to the Espada. Um, they all kind of were color coordinated, but they also had their own uniqueness. Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's the same with the others. They kind of have their own styles, but that stood out to me. Like, you got Grimjow on your team, but you've also got um, Neutro with his big spoon collar. um, I think they had the best fit. I liked their fit. Sternritters are a little too Third Reichy, a little too fascist in their fashion. Fashionist. I don't know what I'm saying. Um, yeah. And of the Sternritter I've seen, which one wears their outfit the best? You know what? The guy who looks like a luchador. I like his bow tie. He's very off-putting because he feels like he's clashing, but he makes it work. I'm gonna go with that guy. Do you plan to read / watch Burn the Witch manga / anime? Yeah, I guess if it's Kubo, right? That's one of his series. Yeah. It's no secret Kenpachi is your favorite male character, but I'm curious who your favorite female character is, and why is it the GOAT Orihime? I do love Orihime. I feel like I want her to be more integral than she is sometimes. Because I thought she was going to play a bigger role in defeating Aizen, but she didn't. Orihime's up there just because I think she's a good person. I'm rooting for her. Rukia, though, is also really good, but I feel like those are two cheats because they're like main characters. Honestly, after this batch of episodes, maybe Unohana's up there. She's fascinating. Yeah, I like Unohana a lot now. I don't know, but those are probably... Oh, Tatsuki, too. Tatsuki. Love Tatsuki. Should absolutely have been given more to do. She's Ichigo's, childhood friend. I would have loved to have seen her more. Yeah, those are probably my answers. I don't know if I have, a one that stands out, so much above the others, but those are, my top few, probably. Out of all the Quincy's we've seen so far outside Yuabaha, who do you think the 3 biggest threats to the Soul Society are? Out of all the Quincy's we've seen so far outside of Yuabaha, well, Hashfalt's probably a threat, because he seems like Yuabaha's right-hand man. He's probably powerful, I'm gonna guess. Which of the others really stand out as far as power? Yeah, also Hashfalt destroyed Ichigo's Bankai with one swing. Commissioner Gordon's got guns. That guy's got guns. Did I ever learn his real name? You know who I mean, the mustache guy who shot Shunsui's eye out. He's probably dangerous. He's got guns. Then I would say, I'm going to say Asnot, because I feel like every Soul Reaper feels fear, And now that he's got Byakuya's Bankai, he's also probably very dangerous. How do you think some of your favorite Espada would do in a fight against Asnot? Hey, I think Ukiura would have a very interesting fight against the Fear. Yeah, someone like Ukiura who, barely feels things might actually be able to do pretty well. Grimjow, I feel like, would not do well. I feel like deep down, I feel like he's scared of a lot of things. Barragan would... He fears nothing. I'm just kidding. Barragan would probably see Aizen taking his throne. Stark, I don't think, would do well because he'd be scared of being alone. It's tough to say. I feel like a lot of them would... You know what? Eren Yarrow, I think, would be able to deal with the fear parts. I think he'd be killed easily physically, though. He wasn't that strong. And obviously Yami and Luffy would get absolutely destroyed because they're terrible. But yeah, I think Ukiyora's would be the most interesting. I don't think many of them would actually fare that well against that. I just feel like that power is so... It just permeates everything and everyone mostly, because most people fear something. I don't know, that's my answer. They wouldn't do well. When you first heard of TYBW or the final arc, what were your expectations? What did you think would happen in the last arc? And when it was revealed it was Quincy's, how did those expectations change, especially after the first attack? I first started seeing the letters TYBW like fairly early on when I first started doing these videos, before I stopped looking at comments like completely. I would see people say things like, oh, can't wait till he gets to TYBW, or like, oh, this will come up in TYBW, and I was like, what the heck's TYBW? But like, I just kind of was like, okay. Once I realized it was the final arc and it was called 1,000-Year Blood War, my expectations were like, this feels massive. And when I heard that it was like the new anime, which I had, realized that that's what TYBW meant, because I knew there was a new season of Bleach coming out when I first started reading Bleach. So eventually I made the correlation, and I realized what was happening, and the expectations were high, and I thought, oh, this is good. With a name like that, like I've talked about, it's gotta be big, and it's succeeded so far, especially after the invasion. As for what I thought would happen in the final arc of Bleach, to be honest, I did not think Quincy. I did not think the Quincy were coming back. I thought the Soul King was going to be like revealed to be bad, and it was going to be like Soul Reapers versus Soul Reapers, like his faction and his dimension, maybe like Squad Zero versus us. That was kind of my thoughts after the Arrancar arc. Yeah, so that's kind of was my initial read of things. What fights would you like to see between the Stern Ritter and the Soul Society moving forward? Well, I think we should see the continuation, or the round 2 of the fights that, we started to get in the invasion, and then see them continue. As far as I'd like to see, I guess now Byakuya versus Asnot again, because I thought Asnot killed him. Hoshvault versus I would have liked to have seen Hoshvault versus... Why am I blanking on his name? I'm gonna get so much grief for this. Oh my god. Yamamoto's lieutenant. Chojuro. Because of the whole right-hand man thing, I would have liked to see the two of them fight. Especially after I learned, after he died, that Chojuro was such a badass and he stabbed Yuabaha back in the day. I would have liked to have seen the two of them fight, but that doesn't seem possible anymore. Mayuri, I want to see fight someone. I don't know who, but I want to see Mayuri deal with the Quincy's and get more into like his feelings and whatever. I doubt there's much regret. His feelings toward these big Quincy. Like, he was the first one to go, these are Quincy. I warned you, Yamamoto. We should have exterminated. We should have made sure. But, is what it is. What's something like you would like to see moving forward in general? Abilities, character moments. I mean, that's one thing for sure. Mayuri dealing with the Quincy's more. I know you still aren't sold on Byakuya surviving. I think it is later justified, at least enough for me. What would need to be done with Byakuya's character going forward to justify his survival to you? I have talked a lot about my... I don't want to say disappointment that he's alive. Like, that just sounds mean. I was surprised in like not a great way that he was alive. I thought it felt like that we were emotionally manipulated a little bit with the way those scenes played out. If they had been executed a little differently, I think I wouldn't have been as irritated. But it really felt to me like that was the end of him. So I've talked about, though, that they can make up for it. Like, if Byakuya is used well going forward, then I could be like, oh, thank God he lived, or we never would have had those moments. I just need it to be something that's just as fulfilling and hits me as hard as him seeming to die did, but maybe in the opposite way, like something amazing, something hype, something fulfilling. I need it to be a big moment for him, or a big character interaction, something that makes me go, alright, I'm glad you didn't die. Because I really felt like him dying, and I've talked about this so much, but I felt like him dying was about to serve some really interesting purposes, and then we kind of lost that. So, I think it just needs to be something that makes me feel like it's worth it. I'm not sure what that is. But it needs to be something real good. Something a little different than most questions, but since you write, from your writing perspective, what's your opinion on the Broken Bankai reveal? The fact that Broken Bankai can never be recovered. Do you consider that to be a retcon? Is that a good twist to include? I liked it, because I feel like it gives a lot more importance to that moment of losing, of having it be destroyed. Is it a retcon? Did I just forget that they establish otherwise before? Like, I know Mayori's seemed to be destroyed and then he modified it, or they made the Komamura has such a unique relationship with his that his doesn't. Like, I don't know, it didn't bother me. I'll say that. I didn't think much negatively about that reveal that the Bankai's can be, but I just thought it was interesting. I kind of just accepted it at face value, I guess. After the long wait, how satisfied are you with Ishin's backstory? Listen, very. Would I have loved to have learned even more? Yes. I could have done with, like, everything but the rain could have been like 25 chapters, and I would have been totally happy with it. I would have been like, oh, just give me more. But Kubo gave us the essentials. I loved every second of everything but the rain, so I'm very satisfied with that backstory. Even if we didn't learn every little thing about his life. Oh, a lot of questions here. Do you think Byakuya will have a chance to get payback for his defeat by Asnot? I hope so. I thought when he seemed to die, I was like, okay, Asnot's gonna get beaten by, like, Rukia and Renji, or one or the other, and it'll be like revenge. But at this point, yeah, I'd like Byakuya to get some payback. Also, if Kubo decided to continue Bleach, what would that even be? I have no idea where else we could go. The living world finding out about the Soul Society? I don't know. Would you like to see Aizen free again and stab Hina more, just like the good old times? Oh my god, would I like to see Aizen stab Momo? It would be funny at this point, in like a horrifying way, just like the second one was, but at this point, no. Momo needs to stab Aizen, and I'll feel satisfied. Do you have a favorite female character? I already talked about that. Could we get a character list where you grade all the characters in Bleach according to how much you liked them? A through F tier or something. Would love to see that maybe for Cour 4 finale. Yeah, I'll probably do a tier list of characters in Bleach. I've never done a tier list, but that could be fun. Once it's all done, just to look back on everyone and just kind of place them. Yeah, I'll do that probably. One final note, if the Kurosakis were cousins with the Ishidas, does that mean Ichigo and Uryu are technically related? People were saying that in Everything But the Rain, Masaki isn't actually cousins with Ryuken, that it was just a cover story. And other people were saying they are cousins, but if they are cousins, then yeah, I think they're related. They would be if they're cousins. But yeah, I don't know if that was true or not. As a writer, what do you think about Zanpakuto as a power system and as a way to reveal character as compared to other stories? I love it. I love what the swords and their abilities say about them as people, and sometimes what the Bankai reveals about them as people. I think it's really cool, the relationships they have with their weapons, because the Zanpakuto function more as like extensions of themselves rather than separate weapons, and I really like that. I've always loved when there's like a close bond between um, a person and their weapon. Like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like another good example of when, um, I mean, when I'm thinking of swords, I'm thinking of the way Zoro in One Piece has his relationships with certain swords. His cursed blade took a little while to get used to, stuff like that. It's fun. I'm a sucker for minor characters, so are there any of the Sternritter that got bodied in the first invasion that you wish you saw more of? I thought Royd Lloyd and Lloyd Lloyd were kind of interesting, but they really served those functions, I guess. That guy, I don't even remember his name, who got hit by Ichigo on his way in, I didn't really care about it, seeing more of him. I thought the Overkill guy was kind of funny. So maybe him. The way he was just talking was funny. What underutilized character would you like to see more of? Tatsuki. What was the most shocking twist for you in Core 1? Probably Masaki being a Quincy, because that changes everything about the series, you know? How do you feel about Kubo's ability to hide someone's true identity with just a minor detail? Unohana with her braid, Aizen with glasses, Yuabaha with sunglasses and a mustache. Is someone bald like Ikkaku the only person that can be trusted now? Can we trust Ikkaku? Because his sister that time, or cousin, there was that, well, in the beginning of the Thousand-Year Blood War, there was that Soul Reaper with the two rookies. And I forget her name. She looked just like Ikkaku, but with hair. So can we trust them? Also, something fun is that whatever a season of Thousand Year Blood War aired, Kubo would post a tribute drawing for a character every episode. Would you be willing to react to those once you catch up on the show? Glad you're still enjoying the Bleach journey, and thank you for taking the time to share with us. Thank you for letting me be a part of this and for being here. Yeah, I'd react to those tribute drawings at some point when I'm done. Which Sternritter that hasn't been introduced yet are you most excited to see based on the letter they represent? I think I answered this. X. What are your theories on Kenpachi Zanpakuto's Shikai? What will it be in its ability? I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I thought his was going to be connected to blood, I think, in my Bankai guesses. But then that ended up being Unohana's. Maybe it still will be. I don't know. What would Kenpachi's do? Maybe, like, if he cuts you with it, with his Shikai, it causes all these other cuts on your body at the same time. Like, there's, like, multiple slashes within one slash. It's still downpouring out, guys. It's very Bleach vibes right now. I'm here for it. Is that thunder? It might even be thundering. Core 1 has a lot of setup to the next part of the Thousand Year Blood War. Based on that, what are your guesses on what will happen with various characters? Aizen and the Mukin, Kenpachi. Aizen and the Mukin, I hope he breaks out or gets let out. Kenpachi breaking his limits and maybe getting a name. 100% I think Kenpachi's going to have a Shikai, maybe even a Bankai. I can't wait to see that. Uryu and Yuabaha. I mean, I assume Uryu's just going to be part of the Sternritter now. As for what letter? Maybe he might not even be a Sternritter. Maybe he's like an honorary Quincy. Like Soldier. I don't know if you can hear that. It's pouring outside. Cool. Shinsui is the new head captain. I think he's going to struggle with the role, but I think he's going to figure it out. I think there'll probably be a big emotional moment for him and a show of leadership. What do you think the manga and anime each could have done better in Core 1? I mean, the anime, I think... The manga could have had more Uryu, which the anime made up for, and the anime could have had more of the funny little moments that it took out of the manga that I thought were missing a little bit. Especially with Kone's reintroduction. That one actually bothered me. What is your most liked disliked change that the anime did? Disliked taking out Kone's reintroduction. He just showed up and it was kind of like, eh. What are your my most liked change would be the addition of the Uryu scenes, or I loved the 13 Captain flashback. I've been eagerly anticipating your reaction to Everything But the Rain episodes for literally over a year now. I recall at one point in a previous Q&A where you said the emotional bits of chapters/episodes focusing on Ichigo and Rukia's Rain episodes were some of your favorite parts of Bleach. This is perfect timing. I was wondering if Everything But the Rain would now also be included, or perhaps even surpass them. Thanks for the years of entertainment, and hopefully years to come. Hunter x Hunter after Bleach also has been excited. Yeah, Everything But the Rain is definitely high up there, and very similar vibes to those, for the similar reasons. And I don't know if it surpasses, I'll have to think on it. I don't know if it surpasses Memories in the Rain for me, but it's up there for sure. What do you think are the powers of Sternritters you've seen already but hadn't had their ability revealed yet, such as Haschwald, Bambietta, Nanana, or Mask Demasculate? I'll have to think more on that one. I don't know offhand what I would guess. I assume masks would be something brute force like. The others, I'm not sure. Have you even found yourself consciously or unconsciously using something or being inspired by Bleach during your ghostwriting? If I had to guess, I sometimes have to come up with a lot of different characters because I'll be working on different series, or have to create a different cast of characters for a different series. So just in general, Kubo's willingness to really try to make everyone feel unique and interesting, and just his character creation is very inspiring to me. What was your favorite moment in Cour 1? That's tough. That's tough. I really liked the hype of Ichigo getting the new Bankai as number 1 played. That was really hype. That was hype. I don't know about absolute favorite moment. I'd have to think more on it. There were so many great moments. A lot of the Yamamoto moments gave me chills, so maybe his Bankai reveal, that was really well executed in the anime. Most surprising plot twist, Misaki. What was your favorite plot twist? Most surprising and favorite, both would be Misaki probably. And if you can then rank the battle of Cour 1 or 2, top 5 or top 10, that would be its own video, but yeah, I'd have to think about ranking the fights in Cour 1, but thank you for the questions. Will you watch the Bleach movies? I have watched the Bleach movies, all 4 of the animated ones and the live action one. I have reviews of each of them on the channel. It was a while ago, but you can find those on the channel. I think I have a playlist on my channel that's specifically for the movies, but yeah, I did see all of the movies. How much do you think the added Uryu scenes in the anime will affect the story going forward in your manga readings opposed to your anime watch-alongs? I mean, if they reveal in the manga that he learned that stuff, now we already know that thanks to the anime's additions. So, I mean, I'm thinking that he knows more about what happened to his mom than the manga would have you believe, because the manga didn't show him discovering any of that. So it might be interesting to see kind of what it'll be like in the manga, thinking if I hadn't seen those scenes. I feel like it's going to affect things a little bit. I'm curious about your feelings on Yuabaha compared to other villains in Bleach. Has he made a strong impression on you so far? Absolutely, he's fantastic. And Bleach always has great villains. I've enjoyed all the major villains of Bleach. Yuabaha absolutely made a strong impression. Which characters of any race do you think currently represent the greatest threat to the Quincy war machine? Probably other Quincy. Like Ichigo's Quincy side. Like, he was able to break out of the jail because of his Quincy powers, right? So we know that Yuabaha viewed Ichigo, Kenpachi, and Aizen as special war threats, along with 2 others, while Old Man Yama was left out due to Yuabaha viewing him as going soft. Do you have any guesses for the remaining 2? That's right. I did guess these, and I was wrong. Although I did guess Kenpachi at first, and I think I put Aizen on there. What were even some of my other guesses? I think I had Ryukin, which I don't know if I agree with that now. Now that I think I had Yamamoto as a guess, but the Soul King, or maybe one of Squad Zero's members. Maybe like Oetsu Namaya. Hamase Orihime. I'm still waiting for her to do something absolutely crazy with her phenomena reversing stuff. I'll go with that. Who are your favorite 3 Quincy's so far in the story? Is that including like Uryu? Because if so, it'll be Uryu, Asnot, and Yuabaha probably. As far as like if it's just you're talking the Vondenreg, it would be Asnot, Commissioner Gordon maybe. And oh no, I gotta put Kyuge. Kyuge's up there. I'm putting Kyuge in top 3 Quincy's. He was fantastic, and he feels so separate now, but he was great. I loved Kyuge. I'm gonna say Kyuge. How do you think captains who got their Bankai stolen would deal with the Stern Ritters? Will they get them back, or will some kind of new power-up be necessary for them to stand a chance? Well, we have seen Komamura's trying to gain like that power from his clan, and Toshiro is like going back to basics. So I assume they're going to find alternative ways of still being strong. Would you do a wife reacts to the Stern Ritter and how many drinks? Probably. That was a fun video, right? When she did that with the Espada. I do love having her on and hearing some of her guesses. That her guessing about Unohana, and then she's good at like just throwing these out there and just hitting the mark. Like she's done that a couple times. But that Unohana one blew my mind. She's like, she's creepy. There's something off about her. I'm like, she's nice. No, my wife was right. She was creepy. But I love that about her now. Yeah, I'll probably do that. I would love to have her on, and I love hearing her thoughts on characters. Let's see. I think I have a few more of these questions. Favorite Zanpakuto design? I love Kenny's. I love the simplicity of it. Super fun. In terms of the group, how do you feel about the Quincy, especially Stern Ritter, compared to previous factions of antagonists like Arrancar, Fullbringers, etc.? I like the Quincy and the Stern Ritter a lot. I still haven't seen that much of them, and there are so many of them, it seems, that some of them already, just by the nature of like the story, don't leave as much of an impression. Maybe there'll be like a core group that sticks with me more by the end, but yeah, it's hard when there's so many to leave as much of an impression. But the Espada to me are like, I loved the Espada. I thought that was a fantastic group. And the Fullbringer like execution group was also really good, and they were interesting because they were like presented as a new cast of allies at first. But I really like the Stern Ritter. I think they have a lot of potential. And it's interesting that they are more of an army, and it feels that way. So there are just so many of them, but it's a little harder to gauge that. But we'll see. Honestly, I'm just curious of what you think will be next for Ichigo, both emotionally and physically. Do you think he'll actually gain special abilities other than speed and strength, and get Suga Tensho, or maybe use the abilities of all the other races in Bleach? Hollow Hyper Regenerate. You know what? Yeah, maybe he'll be able to use like all aspects of himself. I'm thinking at least he's gonna start doing some Quincy stuff, like projectile, like creating arrows. Maybe he's gonna shoot an arrow. I feel like we're gonna see some of that. Maybe he can use his 2 new blades to like make a bow. I don't know. What do you foresee Uryu doing under the command of the Stern Ritter? Any matchups you'd want to see him in? That's an interesting question. I imagine he's going to be like a some sort of, they're not going to view him very well, I feel like, because he's not really one of them, and Ryukin seems separate from them. Maybe he's not, but he seems like it. I don't know. I feel like they're just going to treat him kind of poorly, like an outsider, because he kind of is. Matchups for him. I'd like to see Uryu fight Mayuri again. Maybe this is the opportunity. Ooh, I actually love that idea. I would love to see that. Because that was one of my favorite fights in Bleach. And I'd love to see it carried on, especially now that the Quincy are like back. Kubo has always subverted expectations every arc so far. Soul Society arc with Aizen's betrayal, long-standing plan, Urahara's questionable motives, Byakuya's good guy turn, Arankar arc with Gein's betrayal, good guy turn, Tozen's questionable motives, Fullbring arc with Ginjo's betrayal. There have been a lot of betrayals, haven't they? And like, questionable motives. And Aizen said, what is truly fearsome is the betrayal that you don't see. Safe to say Kubo likes a good hidden subplot. What do you think will be a similar subplot heel turn in this arc? I think Uryu's going to be working for the Quincy to try to get to Yuabaha. I think he'll betray Yuabaha. Maybe some of the other Quincy will turn on Yuabaha, but I just feel like Uryu's playing like a spy game. And he's seeming like a traitor, but he's not. Now that we have subplots like Isshin and Unohana resolved, and Kenny is starting to look into his Zanpakuto, what character plots like that are left do you feel? Any other backstories or things to be delved into more you want to see? Yeah, it does feel like we've gotten a lot of resolutions lately. But I'm trying to think what else that's kind of been built up for so long. Mayuri and the Quincy, I feel like there needs to be a reckoning of some kind. I keep talking about it, but it's kind of what I'm really looking forward to. There's got to be some sort of... Also, Ukitake's sickness, that's been around for a long time. It's kind of was planted there and hasn't ever really come up. He just doesn't fight that much because of that. I don't know. As far as some of the big things, I got my answers, you know? Would you consider doing Cour 2 and sub? You know, I've talked about considering doing sub for my reactions, but I've watched all of Bleach dubbed, and it just feels right to finish that way. And I know that's controversial. I know some people don't like the dub. I know. But it's kind of what I'm used to at this point with the series. I am watching Demon Slayer in sub on the Patreon, because I'm starting that from the beginning in sub. But yeah, I know some people are disappointed in that, but like I said, maybe I'll watch some scenes like I did with that As Not scene in sub at some point. Like, patrons could recommend certain scenes. Maybe I'll do like a little scene reaction to specifically good Japanese scenes. But yeah, most likely not. Are you planning on reading the Bleach light novels after finishing up 1,000 Year Blood War? I am. 100% going to be doing that. Knowing what you know now, does it make you think at all about Ichigo's sisters, Yuzu and Karin? Yeah, it does. I love that Yuzu looks like Misaki and Karin looks like a Shiba. And it makes sense that Karin had heavy spiritual awareness. I wonder if Yuzu is going to develop that too. But yeah, I really like that they look like both sides of the family. And that's more obvious than ever now that we've seen more of Misaki. What was your favorite OST from the soundtrack this Cour? Ooh, that's a good question. I was liking a lot of the creepy kind of, like, chorus kind of music going on when Kenpachi was fighting Unohana. I love some of the remixes of the old Bleach songs. I thought were very good. Like, I'm thinking about the electric guitar riff when Ichigo is walking through the Asauchi. You know, I think that was really good. And the other standout moments, it's just been a lot of good music. It's been really good. What was your favorite of the big revelations? I already answered that. Misaki. Are there any Visored? Oh, this is the last question. Are there any Visored you want to see more of besides Shinji? Of course, I love the Visored, and I do feel like they're kind of been pushed aside a bit, but I'd say Rose. And we got that one scene with him and Najakoop. And I'd like to see more of that. And I love his mask. I've always liked his vibe. Besides him, I love Hachi. Hachi's my boy. I need him to come help people. So, yeah, those are my answers. But thank you all so much for the questions, for sending those on Patreon. This was super fun to kind of look back on Cour 1 as a whole. Maybe we'll do the same thing for Cour 2. If you want to see more of my thoughts on Cour 1 and the beginning of the Thousand Year Blood War, I have reacted to every episode on Patreon, and I have read every chapter in a read along on Patreon. So it's all there. There's so much hours and hours of extra content of me talking about these things and reacting to these things. And it's been great. And thank you so much to everyone for watching the analysis videos as I go through this, as always. It's been quite a ride so far, and I'm excited to see where Thousand Year Blood War goes from here. Yeah, that's a thunderclap. So I think that's a sign from Thor that this is where this video ends. But thank you all so much. I appreciate it, and I hope you all have a great day. Take care.